bunch of permits. We'll take care of all that.
I think definitely that I have seen him here every Tuesday. I have seen him carry on the best of his ability, and I have had no personal reports of him driving any one member out of the church. I have asked Karine, and she refused to give me the names, which I think, if they have any complaints concerning, I think they ought to come to me.
They did come to you, some of them did.
None of them.
This goes back way before the university. And when they got no satisfaction from you, then they started to call me to see if there was anything I could do about it. And then when I tried to tell you that there was all this mounting dissatisfaction, you and John demanded that I give you the names of these troublemakers. Demanded that I give you
only
the names of these gossiping people. They were good people.
For the motion. I'm a diplomatic man. I know how to use diplomacy.
I did not give you the names because I thought it would do more harm than good, because you were blaming it all onto them instead of accepting the fact that it was John.
How do you know I was doing that? Are you a mind reader?
Because I talk about you and John both.
I asked you both
because
in my house, but I have never heard, and you folks would be amazed, and I only wish I'd had a tape recorder of the language that was used. And I said, Karine and John, would you please stop for my benefit? But no.
All right, John's favorite name for me is vile creature. How's that?
Well, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
You would want to say something back to.
Well, all I heard you say, and John, you are to blame for every bit of this trouble.
John told me that I was to blame for every bit of trouble he has ever had in this church. Talk about personal responsibility. That's what he
You made that statement, and
He
you said you have driven the mayors
So
away.
then, I
You have driven the
responded
Masunases away.
So then
And you named them name by name. And I was ashamed.
He accused me that I was responsible for every problem he had ever had with his church. I responded with, no, John, you are the blame. And then he said, give me the name of one person that I have driven away. So I named Harding, Dorothy, and Glass and Bill, which I should not have done, because as soon as I did, here it is, in his letter. And Gladys wants to write a letter, and I think Gladys has every reason to have this letter read. She has a right to defense.
Well, I got a letter to write every week or so. She calls me up for help, and I give her help.
Gladys is a good person. The point is, all these people that complained about John way back, they were good, decent people. They were not gossiping. They were not. They were good people who were concerned for the welfare of the church. They were concerned in doing something to help the conditions, just like we're doing right now. We got to do something about it.
How come they didn't come to me?
They tried to, Jim. They told me they had tried to.
I came to you Tuesday, Jim, and you refused to give me an answer.
I did not know what you were talking about. I didn't know that Mary had asked you to come up there. I did not know, and I wasn't even in the...
And I told you what I was there for, and you still would not give me an answer.
I don't know what to say.
John wants to say something. John?
Yes, if I may please, uninterrupted. First, I'd like to just explain one thing. The way things have been going over at the house. Reverend Tingley has had a bad sleeping disorder. So I stay up, keep a vigil over him in 4, 5, even 6 o'clock in the morning. If that may explain why I sleep late. This letter here was written, it was provoked, and I wrote it under provocation because of these accusations of the people stating that I am the biggest troublemaker in the church. I wrote this letter praying that it could be kept under control and could be settled within the board. But since then, members have come to Reverend Tingley and told him, about the letter and its contents, and what did he think about this. And they stated their views, that it was personal. Now, from what I understand, this letter was supposed to be kept in the board, but instead it was read to the membership. Names like Emma Nisley, Delbert Miller, Helene Zeikowitz, just to name a few. This was prior to that Tuesday. So if you could understand a little bit, I was emotionally upset, and I think each and every one of you would be too under these conditions. If I known that it would have been taken out of the board and just randomly given to every member or any person that seeked it, I would have never written it in the first place.
Well, every member has a right to what goes on in this.
True, but
whether
this was
it's
supposed
closed
to
or
be settled board business.
If you objected to these outside people knowing about your letter, you invited Delbert. Delbert was sitting right there all the time Bob was reading that letter, and Delbert was sitting there with this big smile like he was enjoying every bit of it. He shouldn't even been in the room. He's not even a member of this church. But since he was your friend, that was okay. He
Was
sat
Delbert-
right there.
was Delbert in the
sat
meeting?
right there where Rosary sits. The whole time the letter was being read. And you were sitting directly opposite him, and the two of you were smiling back at each other like Chester cats because you were enjoying my suffering.
I do apologize because of that point. But I give you my word on this, that I have never circulated that letter to any of the members of the church.
That's a mistake, exactly.
Rosemary?
I'd just like to mention that I know Gladys Nissumis very well. We've been friends for probably 20 years.
I married him.
Right, I know. I helped them get through to you so you could marry him. Anyway, I know that no one exerted any influence on her, and that it is as she says, and there's a letter from her. And Joe Gregory and the money, I was sitting right there when it happened, and no, I was sitting there privy to the whole thing, and all I thought, what a remarkable person this is to do something like this. She said that once someone had done something for her, and this was her way of paying it back.
Well,
I'd just like to state that so these
I didn't.
statements are inaccurate. I mean, those, I know different. About Gladys,
I left a lot of things out.
and
I did too.
true, but I mean, it was a unfounded accusation.
Reverend Tingley, Gladys loves you very much, and she said so in this letter. And I think it would be to your advantage and everyone's that you hear what she has to say.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to discuss any of this here because my health is at a very dangerous peak. I have not told you folks the seriousness of my health.
Everything is going to be ruled approved. This has got to be settled under the conditions and getting better. And that's what this meeting is all about. It's about this, to stop this conflict that's causing
That's
the ill
why
health.
Mike misunderstood me. It wasn't because I didn't want to answer him. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what was going on.
I can see about it. But we're talking about
I have
this
nothing against
meeting
Mike.
now.
Never have had.
The answers have got to be, we have got to have some kind of regulations to stop it.
Absolutely.
It's been going on forever, and it's just got to stop.
That's right. And I'd like to say, when people's health is affected, Reverend Tingley, my own, God knows how many others, the truth
I
is
think it's up
there
to
is
you.
something drastically wrong, and it's got to be corrected.
The law of reformation is never closed against any human soul here or hereafter. And I have had a serious talk with John. I told him that if he's fired, I would fire him because I'm the one that selected him, and then it was approved by the membership. And he's agreed never to bring up anything again, and to go on. I believe in the doorway of reformation that is never closed against any human soul. I think everybody ought to have a chance, especially as the pilot. You see, I have a personal interest in this church too. It was through long hours of electrical usage when the church is being remodeled and fixed that I gave freely all the time. To the point that I went without.
I was asked this question. I really couldn't come up with an answer. I believe the question was, Mary, if you could change the situation, how would you change it? My answer at that time was, I really don't think. And I want to tell you, I guess all of you think that question. It really is goes for you. My point is that, you know, I don't come to church to be referee. I come to church to be with God.
I love you very dearly, Mary.
I don't want to see you upset, but I don't want to come to church, like I said, to referee. I want to be able to come into this church and truly enjoy being here.
I know
Where
that.
is the God part of this church? Where is it going? Where is it going? With the gossip? And the vindictiveness? Why nowhere. Where do you charity? Like attracts like.
I realize that.
How are we going to stop it? It's got to come to a sudden stop.
Remember those that protected those and so 7 protected those and we've got 7 people on the board. Whenever anything serious comes along, we need to show that there is some authority in this city. We need to address whatever problem comes along and show that there are boundaries that people just come out. Do anything they think you can get away with it. It's like that's on how these kids. That's enough to know. They have to be, everybody has to be accountable.
Everybody, you're working with 7 different people with 7 different opinions of 7 different other people. And my point is that everybody has their opinion. There's little catty remarks made. That grows into more remarks. And that if then somebody stands up and says something, because I've been in a predicament, I hurt someone's feelings. My point is that if you and John got a problem, you got to iron it out. You're either going to work together or something's got to give. One of the two. The church should not have to suffer because you 2 people do not get along. And what goes on in Miller Street should not be brought down. And rude comments should not be made. They should be thought of. And if you're going to be a minister, then you can't make accusations like that. Neither one of them.
Okay, I took it for 5 years.
You
I
have every
forgave,
right
I
to
forgave,
say
I
what
turned
you
the
want to
other
say.
cheek. I did like Jim said, give Spirit a chance to work with them. I did all of that. And John is the one that put it on paper and brought it to the public and made it public and demanded that the board get involved with it. I did not do that. John demanded that it be made public, put in writing, signed it, demanded it be read at the board meeting, and responded to a month later. So
And
this
I
is
asked
what
for
we are
John's
doing.
opinion, why, John?
Under the provocation because of when I was told this at Reverend Finley's house that I was the cause of the ruination of the church, the loss of members, plus a lot of other remarks that just banged off
But I mean, why was this reported to the Jews?
because it pertained to the church. My actions toward the church. So
You are a part of this church. You
Yes.
do reflect on this
took,
church.
took the church to the
Yeah,
house.
but I mean, your actions, you're telling us, the board, that your actions do reflect on this church tremendously.
Their actions as far as the
Oh, the letter, the behavior, whatever. What is said in Reverend Tingley's house reflects his church.
unfortunately I
You agree to that.
I can tell you why he brought this letter in. He had gone for 3 months on really good behavior, and I was feeling real good. He had not attacked me for 3 months, which was very unusual. And I thought maybe Spirit of God was winning, and he's straightening up, and things are going to be good. And I was hoping it would be good, okay. Then about noon on a Friday, that's 2 days before he brought the letter in here, he provoked his argument. He started demanding that I tell the board he was not going to do any more maintenance. And I said, well, just tell him yourself. No, he demanded I tell him. And then he started again accusing me of all kind of other stuff, so I started answering back. So then Jim got upset, so I left. Because I didn't want it to go any further and Jim got more upset. So I left. So John had all these extra pent-up venom that he couldn't put out on me because I was no longer present. So he puts it on writing. He goes up in his room and he types all that crap out on paper, signs it and brings it down here and asks them to read it at the meeting. And this is what he's culminated from it all.
may I clear
This time when he instigated this last argument in Jim's house on that Friday, like I said, was the first time for 3 months, but before that 3-month period, he has been after me. Oh, God, I never did know why it ever started. It started in April of 91, and it's been going on maybe at least once a month. All this terrible abuse and stuff, and false accusations. And like I said, I took it, I forgive him, but Jim kept telling me, show you're a
I
better
thought
person than he
you
is. The
were
Spirit is
more
helping
of
him.
I thought you were more intelligent person than to take this as an issue.
Then what, Reverend?
I tried it your
More
way.
intelligent person than what?
Then to cause a continuation of the argument.
I'm not
Well,
causing the
Reverend
continuation.
Tingley, she didn't bring the letter and done it.
No, that is not what
I'm
I'm talking
asking that
about
it
the
stop.
quarrel that started the letter.
This I understand has been going on for years. With,
I've tried the forgiveness, the turn the other cheek, I've tried all that. And I've got to the point where he showed his hand here that something has got to be done. He showed his true colors in that letter. And he showed that you can't just continue to sweep it under the carpet the way he's been doing for 5 years.
Somehow it's gotta get past it now.
I think the way to get past it is to let John know that he's not going to get away with it. We're going to have discipline. There are boundaries that you just cannot do.
If I may explain something about the maintenance thing there too. I've had to take care of Reverend Tingley. He's been ill. So I've done cleaning, cooking, all that, washing, and I could not leave the house for long periods of time. I'm lucky if I could even come here to cut the grass, okay, because of medicine, strict schedules on that. And when I'm nagged daily to the point where I have to fix this or I have to fix that, I just said, just turn it to the board. I can't take care of both places at once. I used to be. I was able to before when we had help. When Ann was here, we've had help. And I'm able to break away for a little time. But I'm not able to now. I do a little bit of work at the house. That's in between meal time. I can't leave for a long time to keep up with the schedule. And like I said, it does extend many times. And you're aware of that too, Jim. 4, 5, 6. You've seen that, Ann. Many, many times. Until recently, Reverend Ann Hart's been helping out and doing a lot, keeping, cooking and everything else, and helping him with his medicine. But all these years, I've had that main responsibility myself. And it's been a tremendous, pressure to try to do all of these things at once. But to be constantly nagged and ridiculed, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? There's only so much an individual can take.
You've had that responsibility, or you've taken the responsibility, John?
I don't know anybody.
I've had that responsibility.
I don't know anybody here that's making about it.
You have.
No, I mean of taking
I
care of
have.
Reverend Tingley.
Always me.
Hey, Mom.
Name me one time I ever did.
Well, Marianne's got the floor.
I meant of taking time with Reverend Tingley. I wanted to know if he had to, or if he volunteered to take care of you.
He did it willingly.
I was there.
Did I ask you a question?
I did.
I did it willingly. And concerning accepting any pay from the church, it was brought up in the board meeting on their own. I never mentioned anything, and I never expected anything.
I agree. I was one of those.
Yes, I don't expect to be paid for anything. Ladies and gentlemen, each of you may have different incomes in your lives. I have none, and I don't expect anything. I walk around weekly in rags. I'm ashamed to open the inside of my suit. I walk, like I said, I don't earn any income here, and I don't expect any. I do it for God, honestly.
You do it by choice.
I do what by choice. What other options do I have?
You're given choices, like you.
Okay, like, for example.
I mean, why do you have to wear red?
That's all I have. What other income do I have, Mary?
I don't know.
I don't have any, and I don't expect any. I never asked for it in the board meeting. It was up to the board. They,
The first flower of the streets where you live.
That doesn't
You
matter.
wanna see
And my
them?
point is that we do it for the church, and then we don't cry poor mouth that
That's right.
I don't have anything for this. I work. I'll be glad to come down here and do something around this church. But you know what? There is so much. There is so much. It's so overwhelming as to where do you start. But because I work and I work here, I don't say that I have
what,
this coming or that coming. You do it out of love, John. If you choose to wear rags, I'm sorry.
well, Mary, what I'm trying to say is, in reality, this church has told me my life.
But you're giving it freely, or are you
Freely.
throwing it at us?
No,
That's my whole opinion, my whole thing.
Giving it
Is
freely.
that you're either going to do it, and you're going to do it free-heartedly and with love and grace. Am I correct?
Correct.
Or you're going to throw it at people that I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, and I've done that, and that's not going to get anywhere. Do you understand?
I know. The message I've been trying to convey is I give freely. Out of love for this church.
Well, we're going to have to set up some rules and regulations. I feel that what goes on in Dulles Street doesn't come down to this church. It's not a fun time to walk in here. At every board meeting, what are we discussing? We're discussing John and Kareem. That's what gets discussed at these board meetings, and it's, why?
He always instigates it. I don't know why.
Regardless of where it comes from, we have to get beyond it.
That's right. So, my point is that we're going to operate as a church. What goes on at Miller Street should stay there. If it upsets you, Reverend Tingley, you might want to call the board. If the board can't handle it, then it's back to you. That's your home. You have the right to control what goes on in that house. Am I right?
That's right, that's the way I
And it
think.
should not affect the platform, am I correct?
Absolutely correct.
When you're standing there under Jesus, aren't you supposed to be doing Jesus' word?
Absolutely.
It didn't happen Tuesday. I tried to make it come forward. Gee, for a few minutes there, everybody did their job. Kareem came up. John decided to come up and give messages, and all went well. That's the way it's supposed to go. And what goes on in this Grace Hall or in that back room or Miller Street should not affect that platform in any way, shape, or form. We're all ministers and we should conduct ourselves as such. There may be people in this church that you're not particularly fond of. So what? There's people in life that we're fond of and some that we don't care for. Everybody here has a personal opinion. But you don't degrade somebody. And I don't think it should be brought into this church. And I think it's got to stop. The gossip has got to stop. And I think that if, we should keep track of this in some manner. Like a little scorecard, maybe, It's ridiculous that our board meetings consist of a seminar.
But I'm always on the defensive, and he's always the
It's never settled.
Right, that's exactly
Well,
right, Walter. You're exactly right.
It's never settled, something's got to
Stop.
Well, why can't we just make a rule that we're going to force ourselves to say good things about people?
Well, the
no matter
board,
what?
I'll tell you what's going to happen if this continues, the board's going to have to act. The board's not going to act against one without acting against the other.
Well, let's just try to force ourselves to be pleasant no matter what. Let's just force ourselves to be.
Okay, you were right when you said the house should not affect the platform, but I couldn't count how many times John has stopped me from doing announcements. This has been going on for years. Every time he'd take an ocean, he'd be anxious, we'd have something going on over the house. When it came time for the Sunday announcements, he would go ahead and do them without calling on me. He's done that child
Your
over and
secretary
over and
treasurer.
over.
You give the announcement.
Yeah, but when he's the moderator, he automatically starts doing the announcements without calling on me to come
I'm
on to
sure
do them.
John will make some cleanup adjustments.
Just like he did last
Doing
Tuesday.
And do we all agree that this is ridiculous to be having these meetings
I do.
to settle arguments that go on elsewhere? And that they should not, by any means, in the name of God, should not be brought into this church. It doesn't, we just got to stop it. It doesn't matter who does what. What matters is that the bigger person is the one that's not going to bring it into church. We're going to ask you,
Okay,
and we're
John
going to
brought
ask
in, I defended myself.
Okay, and it's over with.
It should be the other.
All right, as far as I'm concerned, that
Okay.
is the end of it.
And from now on, if there are
Let's
any
take a vote on
problems,
it.
take a vote on what?
That
There
does
should
not
be no
continue
vote on
to
it. There's,
work out.
I think that you and John are going to have to make an effort to get along.
I do make the
There's-
effort, but
No, I'm talking, I got the floor. You and John are going to have to make an effort to get along, stop this bullshit, or this board's going to act to remove both of you. That's just what's going to happen.
I was
This
just
keeps
trying
up.
to work it out.
No, you're not. There's no reason for none of this to go on. There's a protocol to go when John's there on Tuesday or Sunday when he's giving this sermon. We're opening up for Reverend Tingley. And he knows that, and I'm sure he's going to follow it. If Mike would like to give messages, or when his time comes on a Tuesday to give a sermon, then he should have that option to do that. He's a minister in his church just like the rest of these people are.
That's right. I just
That's
all
the
the
way it should
ministers
be.
to share the platform.
Yeah, John.
Yes, if I just may say this and surmise it all, for all the comments that we have to each other, we're not getting anywhere, which is correct. If I may just make this statement, to Kareem, I apologize for all of my actions, for anything that I have said or my actions in the past, or to any of you in the board. I give my full and wholeheartedly apology, and I will do the utmost to control my actions in the future. That is my word of God, and if I cannot, then out of decency and love of this church, true love, then I will most wholeheartedly relinquish my office as well. Never to endanger this church in any capacity, only for the truth and promulgation of spiritualism. I pray that each and every one of you will accept my apology.
So I'm glad to hear that, John. Thank you, Bob.
I accept it, and I would also like to say that I would like to apologize for anything I may have done, and I would do my best to cooperate in the future. Thank you.
Okay.
And I accept.
Michael?
And I know, well, I'm glad it's Miss Sumas to get blamed. See,
Gladys was not a Do we all agree on it? Mike, you accept?
Rosemary?
yes.
Walter, I accept it. I think it all works together now.
Heartily. Well, great. Is there any other business you brought before this board today?
I didn't hear John say he was certain about how.
Oh, I did.
He did. I did hear it already.
Let's not argue anymore. Let's just work toward the church.
John, you've got your hands full, and I know you have come across strong there. I want people to know that you've got your hands full with everything. But nobody down here is demanding that you be the only one to do any work on it either.
There's enough people here, enough responsible people here. There's plenty for everybody. It's just
So that, it may not be done to
no.
perfection,
No.
but people that want to volunteer, we're going to let them go ahead and do it.
That's the key to growth.
And we will keep our, if it could be done a different way to ourselves, okay? Everybody in agreement? I can get help in here, but I gotta have peace in my heart. I can't really know this one's criticizing me, that's criticizing me.
New people come into the church and they see the crap that's been going on.
They have. I have had people approach me and say, I will not come
Absolutely
in.
guaranteed they will not come back.
That's the truth. I never mentioned it, and I have not brought that before the board, but that has happened to me. And I can name 3 people right out there that has said that to me. And it shows. The bitterness, the angriness shows from the class. And these people aren't stupid. They pick it up. They feel it. So we've got to put a love vibration in this church. And what's done is done with love or stay away. That's how I feel about it. We're either going to come here and do for God or stay away. Mike, do you accept the apology?
Well, like at home, try run things like I saw it now. Everyone values everybody's opinion.
I feel honored to be part of this church.
We're honored to have you.
I'm very happy to have some resolution to these issues. All and foremost, our neighbors, all of you.
Everybody wants to see this little church grow and get better. And I know there's not a person in this room. I can remember seeing that church fall. And we kept to watching.
Is this new parking lot? Is that where should happen?
Yes.
Would it be a good idea to post, put up a notice to that effect in the lobby so that,
I have something
sorry.
that might be of interest to you if this is something to consider. When I was cutting the grass 2 weeks ago, the owner of the parking lot over there that we use by the great building, he was getting to the point where him and his brothers were getting very, very frustrated with having to upkeep all the properties. And as you well, they also own the gray house here. And he was mentioning that he was considering selling all of these properties. And if you were looking for, because I know it's been on the agenda before for certain parking lots and so forth, I almost got a promise out of him, but a handshake and a guarantee that he would notify us first if they were going to sell it and for what.
And if that happens, let's go down and check the tax records before we can
Yeah.
in the office. And it could be fine.
That's true. And also the yellow house over here adjoining us, I did talk to the landlord, or he talked to me, and I did believe he was asking something like $11,000 for that property, which is a more substantial size.
Is that the one on Field? He paid 10 for it
Yeah.
several years ago.
Yes, but I'm sure it could be negotiated by, if that's another option too. These people will sell, but that's just something to bear in mind in case that we need to turn any options in the future.
did he mention a price?
No, he didn't. I asked him 3 times, but he'd have to talk with his brother. And I'm sure it could be negotiated further. Very easy to talk to.
Mary's not here, but I wanted to ask about putting up a sign over there by the parking lot. Is that getting to be a problem? You know, the last time we heard, we had people, you know, parked in front of the double doors. We need to put a sign at the double doors, and we need to put another one somewhere that says the church pays for the use. Because I think all these people that are parking there have no idea we are paying for it. That makes a
There
big
used to be a
difference.
sign on that double door. Not much, I don't think it's
Oh,
on
years
board.
ago, I used to have a little old sawhorse that I had a little sign I made, but never was
I thought
properly
there was a sign
done.
on the door
Well,
one time.
maybe he had one, I don't know.
Yeah, no parking. That
We
was
do
for
need to
him.
have one.
We used to have a little A-frame that we put,
Yeah,
but
we
a lot of
do.
times it was kicked over.
We need to do it properly. Yeah, I think some vandals did it, that's right, I remember now. It was vandalized.
And wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Paul realized the nearness of the spirit world and that there were witnesses to our every act or deed, and he continually asked his followers to lay aside their sins, weights of evil and misunderstandings, and to work together and live in the lives which had been set before them for the great Master, Teacher, the Christ. Most wrongs are committed because of a lack of understanding, and when the light of truth can be lit continuously in the hearts of men, Then and then only will the world be standing in the light of understanding, and the wars will cease to be. The trend of the times is forcing us to recognize the truth that we are spiritual beings, and that, as Paul said, we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. At no time in history have the people at large been so ready to recognize these unseen witnesses as now. Spirit communion constantly has been operating in the universe, but the people have not seen religiously trained to understand, have not been religiously trained to understand this fact. But when humanity becomes familiar with spiritual laws, then bigotry, superstition, and prejudice will cease to exist. When we think of how hard the power of Spirit has throughout the ages past tried to prove the truth of Spirit communion to the world, we think of the many who have fought and died to bring this truth to men's attention. The Christ was crucified because he taught this truth. His disciples all met tragic deaths for the same thing. Simon, Andrew, and Peter were crucified. One, James, was beheaded. The other was stoned and clubbed. Philip and Luke were hanged. Bartholomew was flayed to death. Matthew was killed with a halberd. Barnabas was stoned. Paul was beheaded. Mark was dragged through the streets of Alexandria. Thomas was shot with arrows and lanced. So we can see that the road to religious worship has been a hard one to travel. But today it is not as dangerous to get in touch with the world of spirit as it was in the days of yore. To those who have gone before, we owe a great debt of gratitude. For they have made it possible for us to stand in the light of understanding with freer spirit than they could. Each individual is an outlet and an agent for the unlimited remote resources of spirit. Man must remove his lesser self, which is the barrier between himself and God. Prayer is a great factor in helping one forget self. Prayer carries a current of energy to the outer light from an inner powerhouse. In the batteries of which is stored the consciousness of God. True prayer brings about the demonstration of divine law. In the record of Jesus' life, we find that he often withdrew from the crowds in order to renew his spiritual strength. It has taken a long time for man to follow this example, to enter into his inner chamber and, having shut the door, pray to his Father in secret, and there receive a renewal of spiritual strength. The universe is governed by unfailing law. Nothing is accidental. Nothing just happens. Back of every effect is a specific cause. If universal law were not dependable, we could expect the cosmos to be reduced to chaos at any moment. This law is not granted by a man called God, but it is the inevitable, immutable principle known as God. We are fast learning to know God as living activity, creative force, and infinite spirit. Although many still see in a mirror darkly, we know that spiritual light grows ever clearer, and the day is fast approaching when all shall see face to face. Once when Paul was praying in the temple, he fell into a trance in which he saw and conversed with Christ. This was a conversation between Paul of earth and Jesus in heaven. If humanity would understand this law, that the same communication can be used and is carried on today, it would stand in a light of greater understanding. The discerning spirits spoken of in the Bible was not the more ordinary endowment of reading character. It is an extraordinary power which reveals God's plan to man. Some have the gift of discerning spirits. To some is given the word of wisdom, to others prophecy, to others the gift of healing, and to some the gift of the interpretation of dreams. Knowing all this, why should we shun or make fun of an interpreter or seer? They are God's chosen people, for as once was said, God revealeth himself through his servants, the prophets, by the labors of those who have gone before, and that of present-day prophets, let us step into the light of understanding, and by that truthful light run the race that is set before us. Chapter 14, The Golden Age. Amos the prophet has told us that, surely the Lord God will do nothing but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. Throughout the book of Amos you will find that the word of God was spoken against iniquity, that destruction was promised to the workers of iniquity, that God, to convey his message to people of earth, would use one of his servants, a prophet. We call our present time the Golden Age. Through science, education, and understanding, people are developing themselves to become prophets of God. What is a prophet? He is one who speaks for another, for God, or one inspired by God to speak in his name. It is natural for us to associate God with his people in certain specific places, such as a house of worship, or with a holy experience. The world needs to know there is no place to which we might go, but that God is there. There is no experience into which we might come, but that God's companionship is possible. Just before his death, Moses left these consoling words to his people. The eternal God is thy dwelling place, and underneath are the everlasting arms. In this age of reason, people are beginning to understand these words more fully. Luke tells us in poetic language that God promises the dawn of a more cheerful world. Shakespeare said there is a physical dawn and a spiritual dawn. A Hebrew prophet foresaw that God would win and justice would triumph at the rising of the Sun of Righteousness. In this golden age, the Sun of Righteousness will shed its healing rays over all the world. Peace will be established. Humanity will be liberated from fear, and each man will worship God in his own way. Rulers of the nations have tried to change the sunset, rise, and sunset of religious worship. But this is the golden age in which material